So how is it going?
Good.
Yes.
I was not able to access your video from the week 5. I don't know why, but I've seen all of them and a sneak peek where you were discussing. I'm sorry I missed the live version of it, but I was able to listen to it. And it seems to me that you want to go, or you're thinking about the language and images around 2013 immigration story. Is it still sticking, or are you thinking about something else? Are these the connecting points that you were thinking about?
I think generally yes, we haven't totally discarded it. Yeah, I would think we're still like interested in it, but we were also interested in like outtakes and awkward moments like in communication, I believe we're talking about. So yeah, we're still playing around with it. I mean, that was I sort of arbitrarily, I mean, not arbitrary, we were talking about when Eren first arrived in Berlin from Istanbul, what year that was, and he said 2013. So that was how that started, like sort of pick, just to have a place to pick images from. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, just last time I think we talked about it a bit again, this date, 2013, etc. I had some doubts about it being maybe too, I don't know. Maybe I felt more related to this date, and maybe it's more highlighting my situation, I thought. So I have some doubts about it actually. We talked about it last time. But yeah, otherwise it's been, yeah, there have been different directions, like language was one. I mean, this is where we started anyways. I mean, I mean, we are both quite visual, and we from the beginning we said, yeah, we start with visuals, even though she's working with text and I'm working with pen. We start with visual ideas, visual concepts, etc. So yeah, but then yeah, there was this idea of maybe visualizing language, visualizing text, etc. And then we kind of jump into this immigration story, but then finding a connection with her family and my moving in, kind of, yeah, connecting there. And there was also this.
Yeah, we thought about my family's year of sort of migrating to the U.S. from Honduras, which was 1972, or my father was 1971. But yeah, that was, it was sort of out of the immigrant, digital, and then just the literal immigrant idea. So, yeah.
So you were mentioning, Sheila, that you are, when you guys are talking, you're often sharing very personal images from your parents that your father took, or the friend who had a camera, and there were a lot of images that you were sharing from your childhood, and you also mentioned that your childhood is very well documented. And at the same time, you raised that you don't want to be very personal in this project. Is it right?
I think I more so than Eren, like maybe you can be personal, like, but then I understand the need not to be, the need to sort of focus on form or not be too biographical, or or not expose too much, sort of protect yourself a little. I understand that need, so I certainly do it in my own poetry. Like it is personal, but it's also hidden, so there's like something hidden about it. I'm not exposing everything. I'm not sort of like laying it out there.
It's just interesting that you were thinking about 2013 when Eren immigrated to Berlin, which is personal for him.
Right.
And it's a very personal date. And he doesn't work in his, I mean, at least what I've seen, it's not, his work is not personal, very personal, or it's hidden. It's hidden through the personal line is hidden through the objects and very unpersonal images.
And we sort of discussed last time that I was like, I don't mean to push like maybe sort of the last time we met, you know, to record before that group recording, that I know that I was pushing the biographical a little more and I didn't want to make him uncomfortable for sure. And so that's the reason to, you know, sort of change that idea of using the year or being that personal, you know.
How do you feel about it now?
Me or?
Yeah.
I mean, I actually, I would say all my work is quite personal. I mean, the topics are always personal for me. And even they always depict very personal emotions or memories. Even the Highjumper film, if you checked it, I don't know, I mean, or at least maybe you've seen the synopsis, etc. That's completely from my past also. Yeah, but I am more distant, definitely. Somehow the content is personal, but in the form, I really distance myself. So I am, yeah, in that sense, open to doing a personal project, but I guess with kind of twist in the twist with the distance in the form or something, or somehow the other way.
So do you feel comfortable to settle on a date that is personal for you? Or do you want to leave it open?
Yeah, I guess I mean, it was a nice, I liked it in the beginning also because it's quite concrete, 2013. I like narrowing down options and like going straight for a date like this, which is personally meaningful. Yeah. Then I had some doubts, but I'm not. Yeah, I'm definitely open to working with such a date.
Yeah, for me,
we can somehow build around it, work around it. And, yeah.
I'm sorry. I feel like I keep cutting you off a little. Sorry about that.
No.
Yeah, for me it was a device. It was like just some way to pin down something, you know, like yeah, it was just literally that. And then just picking another date to pick images from, like the 1972 date. That's why I did my mother's stuff. And even within that, like the images that Eren produced right away were pretty kind of abstract. You know, we had a concrete date, but the images were sort of because we were talking about outtakes, and he was using like the first photo from like a role where he was testing out the role. So it was a throwaway photo, and it's kind of burnt and blurry, and I wouldn't know what it is unless he told me what it was. Like one was like an apartment in Berlin, like his first apartment in Berlin, but it's a very blurry kind of impressionistic kind of shot. It looks impressionistic, you know. It's not even a shot, it's a throwaway, you know. But it had a certain texture, so I really liked it. Yeah, image wise, yeah, I feel like it's just a place to pin some things down. So I really think we're strong image wise. We have a lot of stuff to work with. So, and we were outtakes, and I think we were ultimately thinking about form and what that was. And we thought about outtakes a lot, and we thought about sort of broken things, like awkward fragmented. I feel like we're aiming at like a lot of fragmented stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that when I saw your videos, that's something, and then I listened to the sneak peek, that's something that uh, stood up, the idea of glitch and mistake and forgotten things, like things that are not obvious, that are byproduct, or sometimes they're not even byproduct, they're just you totally forgot about them, and then they come back. And I think that's something that you guys could work with. It's definitely something that stood up the most for me, the date, and then also this glitch, this unplanned image or unplanned memory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Somehow how did we come to this point actually? How did we?
The
I can't
awkward like
remember.
communication thing or outtakes? You
No,
mean?
this outtakes idea.
Outtakes.
You had a like glitch technical problem.
Well, that was
We
one, but
talked about that a lot.
I think we were talking about lost years.
And lost years, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we were.
how
Yeah.
The years that weren't documented. And we started pulling out the journals and any stuff like that. So yeah. And that's really, I mean, honestly, we made it tough for ourselves because we're trying to document what wasn't documented. So that's that
Yeah,
means
that was very interesting for me. I think that idea was, or recreate like a fictional documentation, like the documentation doesn't exist. And then we try to come up with this. How do you say? Retrospectively, I guess you come up with this undocumented things and try to document them. Yeah, that idea really stayed with me.
yes, I think it's very strong, and I think you could work with it in terms of visual and language. It's definitely something that interests me. I would like to know more about digging into somebody's past, and also how you reimagine your past, because it's not documented. So you have to really work a little bit between fiction and a memory, what do you remember, and pinpoint it with actually what happened. You have to go back to the time and sort of research what happened into that time that you could link your memories to. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what you were doing in 2013, Sheila? I have no idea what I did in 2013.
dig, like there was this day where we started to dig. I was digging in my other computer for images from, I do have 2013 more documented because we were talking about the kind of technology we had in that time, which I had just gotten an iPhone at the end of 2012. So that was the beginning of basically a lot more picture taking, a lot more documentation that way, like a diary, a visual diary was really starting to happen once I had a phone in my hand all the time that had a camera. And so 2012 so it was interesting, 2013 was when he left, but 2012 into 2013 is when my digital output becomes bigger. Actually, I didn't think of that connection. Like I have drives now, like hard drives in my house. I never had those until 2012 or 2013 when I wanted to, maybe 2013, 2014 when I wanted to download all that stuff that I was documenting on the phone. And that stuff I have a lot of 2013. Like before then, I was telling Eren, I had a digital camera and I was taking more picture, but it was still not quite like having it as a phone, right? As a thing that you carry with you all the time. And the digital camera, I took more pictures, but it was often occasional, like for occasions, like pick hot birthdays or, that kind of thing. Very basic stuff like New Year's holidays. So I have pictures from the digital camera before the iPhone from like 2006. Those are on my drive also, but they're just not quite as voluminous as since the iPhone, right? The iPhone became the thing, it became my diary. That's when visual stuff became my real diary, and it's almost not replacing journals, but certainly neck and neck. I can say that I maybe since 2012, end of 2012, 2013, I have almost a photo for every day. Almost. Like there's some, I could say maybe 2018, 2017, I have a photo for every day. So that never happened, you know, and so it sort of overlapped with this idea of us, you know, working digitally and the immigrant native stuff. Anyway.
So isn't there a parallel with Eren, who in 2013 moved to Berlin and started documenting the apartment and what was happening around him, the photographs that you were showing in a last recording? I see quite a clear parallel there. You were entering the digital world with this new fascinating technology that allowed you to take a picture of everything and documenting without really editing too much or editing at all.
All sort of just emerged.
Good. That's awesome.
You know, I think we were coming to it the other day. I think we talked about he wasn't documenting with an iPhone. He was documenting with a digital.
But it's still documenting what was happening. I think this is great.
So yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't as productive because I was shooting 35 millimeter film basically, but
I
but for me,
I would just say it's a lot of junk. I mean, he saw some of the junk. It's like me walking in the park like taking pictures of trees, which I think
that's very strong. That's to me very strong. I think like the one of the first videos you did, Eren was playing ping pong in the apartment, and you were walking. You were documenting your day, and to me it was really great to see, especially Sheila, your video of, you know, no explanation, just going through your stuff. And I was wondering, where is she going? What is she doing? And I really wanted to know more. And there was this mystery that sort of came. If it would be clear story, then the mystery would be lost. And I think that's similar with the images that you're talking about, the junk, what you call junk. Like, I am really curious, what is behind that? Like, what does it mean for that person? I want to know more. If it's clear image, then that mystery is lost for me.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we can do mystery.
Well, that's the, or mystery, you don't have to call it mystery, but that's the story of, and it goes back to immigration. I'm immigrant too, and that the decision to, you know, go somewhere and decide why do you go and what is there, and you're leaving sort of something known behind, or something that you sort of can imagine how it will uphold, like how what kind of life you will have, or what could you have going into this totally unknown environment where you cannot imagine. Your parents went through it, Eren went through it,
right.
I went through it.
Yeah.
Like that's the part of that mystery. Like, you have no idea what's going to happen, and I think there are two nice parallels of, number one, creating that, or not even creating it because it already exists, but showing it to the viewer through those images, but also recreating it in your own head, going backwards, going to the time that is documented, but through glitches, through mistakes, or through images that you were just taking without clear purpose. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does definitely. Yeah.
Cool.
I guess, of course, that year was for me a big change, a breaking point, or a change of track, let's say. And yeah, we were also talking about how also in Turkey politically it was also a big, I think it was a turning point, 2013 June. These 3-week long Gezi protests that happened in first in Istanbul and then in Turkey, which I think it was a really symbolic event and date. it did feel like that at the time too. But now that I look back at it, definitely it feels like the turning point. It's been 8 years, but it really was a turning point. So my life in 2013 was like I was graduating also. These 3-week long protests happened, which I also took part in, and then after a few months I moved to Germany. So it was a lot of things happening. But for you, Sheila, I guess it was a very was it a mundane year, or how was like? Is there a big contrast in that terms?
2013. It's interesting that it seems mellow. I'm sure it was dramatic because I have a lot of dramatic years, but like,
Or maybe if it's mundane, maybe it's that's
you
also
know,
something
I think the one
interesting.
thing
This
I thought
contrast.
about is I did go to Honduras that year. I don't go to Honduras all the time. I went to Honduras like in July of 2013. And I'd gone there the year before, like this was 2 years after like my first book came out. And the year before in 2012, I'd gone to Honduras to promote the book, to do things with the book, which was a totally weird thing that I did. Like I did it with the State Department. It was very weird. Like I was nervous. I was with the State Department. So I was like, I was afraid they were gonna put like secrets in my bag or some kind of film, like they were making me a secret spy and I didn't know. But like, so it was an interesting time because it was soon after the first book came out. Like it was 2 years after the first book came out, but like that was the first time I went to Honduras after that State Department trip, and I went with my mom, and it was just a trip like my old-fashioned trips to Honduras, which are I go with family and it's pretty boring. And my mom doesn't let me go out even though I'm very old. I'm like a child. And so I remember 2013 for going to Honduras around July. So and it being like sort of the first time I saw it a little more like an adult. It was about 4 years after the coup in Honduras. So that's why I was nervous about the State Department trip. I knew some things about the US's involvement in Honduras, but things weren't even totally clear. I think now we know that the US was pretty involved in that coup of 2009. Honduras has been in turmoil, forever, but the last 10 years has been insane. And I think about that. So it's a boring year and not a boring year. It's the year after like in my in my brain too, like there was a big deal about 2012 because of the Maya civilization date, right? That one. And I love that stuff, like the Maya, like ancient civilization stuff, because some of it is in Honduras in Central America. And I like to visit it. And I don't know if I visited it in 2013. I probably didn't. But like I was always like the Maya thing was misunderstood because the Maya had many calendars, but like and people just wanted to put that date. But anyway, it was in that way. It was. I remember thinking of 2012 and that year into 2013 as very like, oh, another Y2K or another sort of false apocalypse, and we lived through it. But did we, if, people were saying that date got switched around and here we are in the apocalypse for real. It was 2021 they meant, things like that. So yeah, I can make up all kinds of connections if you let me.
So if you settled up on 2013, 2012, 2013, around that time to sort of bring you two together, you would both feel comfortable with that as a starting point? Or would you rather just leave it open?
I think so. Like I say, I didn't want to be too personal for him, but I think we can avoid being personal. I think we can like use parts of it that make you feel like it grounds you, and then slip away when you want to slip away, like. And I think what I got from Eren sometimes was that he was like, what am I getting out of it? And I truthfully feel like I I told him
I
something.
mean, oh, sorry, you mean you, right?
Yeah,
Not
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Like he was like, if it's based on his date, then what does it mean for me? And I told him, for me, I find that like the world, I don't know if I'm gonna say this right, but the world favors, and also I favor. I'm interested in the story of the person who came rather than the person who was born here. Right. I'm the child of immigrants. I'm not the immigrant. And that is a different story. I'm the second generation, basically. Basically, I think of Eren as like my like my parents. Like Eren's my father. That's what I get out of it. Like, so that's the idea, that I'm tracing the way my family came to a place, like sort of through Eren.
Yeah.
To me,
Mhm.
well, to me as a viewer, I'm sorry if who is an immigrant, it's very interesting to see you, the second or first generation, that will be my children, and their story, how they view their parents, how they're going to view me. So there are angles that are interesting for other people, and maybe for Eren as well. But definitely, me as a viewer, I would like to see who is an immigrant, would like to see how the next generation views
What came? Well, yeah, who came?
something, who came and how. So I think there's so many different levels and parallels that are part of the story.
So yeah,
Definitely.
he could be my fake father. And he's younger than me. And like, so I think that was actually another thing that was coming up, is like the switching of roles, like a lot. Like we kind of switch roles quite a bit. That he's the immigrant, but he's younger than me. He's the native, supposed to be the digital native, but I'm more comfortable in some ways with social media, for instance. So that we switch roles in some way. I think. I don't know. And so something like that. Maybe he could write and I could take a picture, or verse. I don't know, because really, he says I'm the writer and he's the picture. He's the visual. I don't know.
That's another thing that came to my mind, because you're writing, and Eren is behind visual images, and I was thinking, how would it be if you would reverse the role?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it, Eren?
Yeah, it would put me out of my comfort zone, but that's the point, I guess. Yeah, sure. That's something. Yeah, that could be interesting, actually. But I think, of course, depends on what kind of text, like what form would the text take. But yeah, sure, I'm open for this kind of approach.
And you were talking also about two screens maybe running at the same time, two computers. Is it something that you're thinking still about, or just sort of putting together one story, one image, one platform?
Yeah, we talked a lot about somehow visualizing text, how to, or somehow put it together in an interesting way. I mean, text and visuals. But yeah, we just mentioned it, quickly talked about it, but we never really concretely talked about the form. Like, what would we do? Like, is it a film? Is it a video? Is it installation? Last week we talked about a bit, or is it just like a dialogue that we record on Zoom or wherever? Yeah, the form is still quite open. We haven't decided on it yet.
Yeah, that's definitely the thing, I think. Yeah, because we got a lot of ideas. That was certainly where we got to, but and ways we can overlap and all that, but how exactly and which one and all that. right, the double computer thing was when I had tried out I was trying to get images from the other computer.
This lagging.
Right, the lagging, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, not being able to communicate, and because of the lag, talking over each other, etc. But I don't know how that works with the 2013 idea or
Right.
this personal story. I don't know exactly how that would work.
Right.
So do you feel that it would help you with the format if you simplify on the time, which I guess 2012, 2013 seems that it would work for you guys, and the memories and images from that time. So are you thinking about images that represent the memories, or Sheila, for you, the words from that time?
Yeah, I guess I should think about words more. I don't I've had more image I have so many images from them. I should dig up some journals or something from I probably have journal writing from 2013, plenty, sure. We were that both of us seem to have let's like stacks of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
stacks of writing. Um yeah, I guess that's more focused, right? I mean, that's still a concrete thing. It remains a concrete thing. I was thinking the lagging somehow could fit because there's you know such a difference in experience, but I don't quite know how yet. Yeah, but I feel like
I mean, the only connection that I could then make was this. I mean, when we talked about this time, so basically there is a generational gap or jump we talked about, that about your family immigrating and me immigrating. So I'm like this. So there is this time difference, time gap, time jump,
sure.
this lag or lack of synchronization somehow,
Mm,
because
mm.
there is a
A
difference of
glitch,
Right.
a
there's a
glitch.
different. Did I make it clear? I don't know if I.
Yes. Like there's a huge difference between immigrating in 1970s versus 2013. Like that's like
Yeah, but also when you say you are like my father, there is already this one generation jump.
right. There's been a generational switch or something's gone
Yeah.
wrong. Like
So
you know
that
what
kind of worked with lagging.
it's like Terminator. Remember Terminator?
Yeah,
So like in the movie,
time travel. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but he's like gone back in time, but he's the father of the kid that hasn't been born, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought of that right now.
Yeah. I mean, so I was thinking about time difference that we also have, and this feedback glitch that we had once. It's a technical issue, but was somehow interesting, which caused this lag and exaggerated time difference, so that we couldn't even communicate. We were talking over each other, etc. I don't know. That's the kind of connections that I can make, I guess.
Yeah. That's it's that little thing could be like a technique or something, some kind of thing that.
But this is great. I like the narrative. I like the story. I like
Oh, now
the.
that's the Terminator. I think now I have Terminator in my head.
No, but I like the story. I like how it's forming. I like how there's this missing time, and then jump within time and generation. How you are switching roles in your, not in your lives, but in your life stories, or life stories of your families. This is definitely something that you can work with. This is fantastic.
Mhm.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
It sounds great. Whatever shape it's gonna be is another thing. Truthfully, what I want to do, space and time wise, we were thinking about like, I think we were a little bit like, wow, some people are really doing concrete things, like they're mailing each other things. We were seeing that.
Mhm.
this is also this, I don't know. I just feel like we had talked about you shooting Berlin and me shooting New York a little and exchanging those images somehow. But I really would like to shoot Berlin and I'd like him to shoot New York. So I want us to switch spaces somehow someday. That's the real sort of ask or thing that I imagine for the future. If this had a future, you know, if it has a future, is getting us in each other's cities, our current cities anyway.
But you can do it. Why Eren can direct you what he wants you to record of New York, and you can do the same to him and tell him what you want to record in Berlin. And this way you materialize that that switch also, and just be a medium. You can be a medium for another person.
Yeah, that's interesting too.
I physically want to go to Berlin though, and he physically. So that's
we are on the Zoom.
But I like the medium thing. I like the medium thing. That's not bad actually. Like what?
Yeah, it's an interesting idea.
What would your eye direct kind of thing?
It's like a distance from yourself and from all your thoughts and stories, and be a tool of somebody else.
Tool, yeah.
How do you feel about that? I would like to see it. I would like Eren. I would like Sheila to be a tool of Eren. So the other way around. I mean, you're already a Terminator in your own life. Like you're already switching the places and generation between each other. So why don't you go? Yeah, you can go further.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I have to think about how it connects to
all the other stuff you're saying.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's too many ideas, but I think there's maybe a shooting or something that we have to maybe present at some point to each other, like maybe something that represents the lagging, or something that represents the, maybe just give each other exercises, I don't know, to like start making things for it, you know.
Yeah,
like
just to just to make things more concrete, so you can start from something. But I also think that, at least how I see it, or what I understand from seeing your work and talking to you, that the process is essential. Not the result itself, but the process is important for both of you. So maybe documenting the process can be the work.
Right. I think, some of it, what we're doing now is already some of it, like even just the recordings, like the galleries putting together. Yeah. But the process of making those little things, yeah. Yeah, now I'm like stuck on the idea of exercises, maybe like creating something that if we both presented something to each other that represented a glitch or lagging or whatever that is, a words or images, and then because I'm a teacher, that's why, like, half the time I get to do things is because I've made them do something, like they like assignments, they like direction. So yeah.
Eren, how do you feel about that?
About the exercises or this? Yeah, I like it. I just, I'm thinking, we have all these ideas. How does it come together? I mean, of course, we can't just find it right now, but no, I like it.
But from go ahead.
Yeah.
But from seeing your videos from the first week to we are on week 9, right? So I've seen that you did, to me, it seems that you've done a lot of progress by coming together and finding the time, and so you definitely are coming into common ground, or common or not common ground, but something that you share.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah, I think we were pretty well matched. I always thought that. So yeah, we're even both Pisces. That's the real problem. That's actually the problem. That's why we're fish going two ways sometimes.
So if the exercise helps you to sort of narrow things down, I think that's a great idea to try to do one or two things that will help you to see how the final, or what the final thing can be. From what I see, there are few lines or few ideas. One is, so the time seems that works for both of you, the year, so narrow things around that. Also the story of coming to a new place for Eren and for Sheila's parents, and how it is viewed backwards. How do you see it from today's lens, and what memories do you have about that, and what imagery can you pull out? And what language can you find, and can you associate with that time?
Yeah.
I would also would like to see, I mean, I would be interested to see, now you spent almost 2 months together, how do you imagine that Eren's city is, or Eren's environment is, and how do you imagine that Sheila's environment and city is today?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been to New York, and that was actually one of the requirements, not to have been to New York to take part in this.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. Okay.
And Shah, have you ever been to Berlin?
I've been to.
For me, New York City only exists in films and yeah, on YouTube, etc. Only exists in media.
Yeah,
Basically.
Berlin. I have a lot of friends who've done a lot of artist friends who've worked in Berlin. So
yeah, I think start with exercise, and maybe pull out the images, lost images and lost memories from the time that you're talking about. And I think one thing that Eren was talking about was Olhar Pamuk, and I was looking into his project Balcony, where and I think that also came to my mind, like to have this huge amount. I think he had like 8,500 photographs, from which I don't know 500 or 600 were pulled out for the book. So I was fascinated by that. Like, how do you edit something so enormous to something so small? And then the parallel is like, how do you edit the images, the lost images, or whatever images you have from a certain time to represent different time? Like, how would you edit your time or your memories, but your images also, your visual stuff from a certain year? That's the story that we will see.
yeah.
Then
journal. I think images in Word. I think we should include.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's do that.
Great.